The Enchanted Wood by Enid Blyton. Chapter 9. The House of the Three Bears. Beth took a cushion, put it at the top of the slide and pushed off. Down she went. Whiz! She shot to the bottom, flew out of the trapdoor and landed on the cushion of moss. She'd hardly got up before Frannie flew out of the trapdoor too. "You know that slippery slip is the greatest fun," said Beth. "I'd like to do that all day long." "Oh, yes, if only we didn't have to climb all the way up the tree first," said Frannie. The trapdoor flew open and out shot Moonface on a yellow cushion. He put the three cushions together, whistled to the red squirrel who looked after them, and threw them to him. Then he turned to the waiting girls. "Now, there's a train at midnight," he said. "We shall have to hurry." The wood was still bright with moonlight. The three of them hurried between the trees. Suddenly, Beth heard the ch-ch-ch-ch-ch chuffing of a train, and she and Frannie stopped in surprise. They saw a small train winding in and out of the trees, looking for all the world like an old-fashioned clockwork toy train made big. The engine even had a key in its side as if to wind up by. There was a small station nearby. Moonface caught hold of the girl's hands and ran to it. The train was standing quite still there. The carriages had tin doors and windows which didn't open, just like those on a clockwork train. Beth tried her hardest to open the door, but it was no use. The train whistled. It was anxious to be off. "Don't you know how to get into this train?" asked Moonface with a laugh. "You are sillies. You just slide the roof off." As he spoke, he pushed at the roof, and it slid off like the roof of a toy train's carriage. "I think this is just a toy clockwork train made big," said Frannie, climbing over the side of the carriage and getting in at the roof. "I never saw such a funny train in my life." They all got in. Moonface couldn't seem to slide the roof on again properly, so he stood up inside the carriage when the train went off. Beth and Frannie, who couldn't possibly see out of the tin windows, stood up and looked out of the roof instead. Oh, they did look funny. At the next station, which was called Doll's Station, three dolls got into the carriage and stared at them very hard. One was so like Beth's own doll at home that she couldn't help staring back. The second station was called Crosspatch Station, and standing next to the railway tracks were three of the crossest-looking old women that the girls had ever seen. One of them got into their carriage, and the three dolls at once got up and went out, and climbed into the next one. "Move up," said the Crosspatch angrily to Moonface. He moved up. The Crosspatch was an uncomfortable person to travel with. She grumbled all the time, and her basket, which was so full of prickly bunches of roses, kept bumping into poor Frannie. Here we are," sang out Moonface when they got into the next station, and the three of them got out gladly, leaving the Crosspatch grumbling all the way away to herself. The station was called Bear's Station, and there was some great number of teddy bears about, some brown, some pink, some blue, some white, and when they wanted to talk to one another, they kept pressing themselves in the middle where the button that made them talk was, and then they could talk quite well. Oh, Frannie wanted to giggle when she saw them doing this. It did look so funny. "Please, could you tell me the way to the Three Bears' house?" Moonface asked a blue teddy bear politely. The bear pressed himself in the middle and answered in a nice growly voice. "Oh, up the lane and down the lane and around the lane." "Oh, thank you," said Moonface. "Sounds a bit funny to me," said Beth doubtfully. "Oh, not at all," said Moonface, leading them up a little lane through the honeysuckle. "Here we are, going up the lane, and now you see it goes downhill, so we're going down, and presently we'll turn a corner and go around the lane." He was right. They went up and then down and then around. And there in front of them, tucked into a woody corner, was the dearest and prettiest little house the girls had ever seen. It was covered in pink roses from top to bottom, and its tiny windows winked in the moonlight as if it had eyes. Moonface knocked at the door. A sleepy voice cried out, "Oh, come in." Moonface opened the door and they all went in. There was a table in front of them, and on it were 3 steaming bowls of what some people might call porridge and some people might call oatmeal, and around it were 3 chairs. Guess what size they were? One was big, one was middle-sized, and the other one, yes, you guessed it, was tiny. "It's the house of the 3 bears, all right," whispered Beth excitedly. It was just like seeing a fairy story come true. "We're here," said the voice from another room. Moonface went in with Beth and Frannie. The other room was a small bedroom with a big bed in it, a middle-sized bed in it, and, yes, a small cot which inside had the most adorable baby bear with the bluest eyes the girls had ever seen. "Where's Goldilocks?" asked Moonface. "She's gone shopping," said Father Bear. Where does she sleep when she's here?" asked Beth, looking round. "And does she always live with you now?" "Oh, always," said the Father Bear, putting his big nightcap straight. "She looks after us very well. There's a market on tonight in the Enchanted Wood, and, she's gone to see if she can buy some porridge cheap. As for where she sleeps, well, she just chooses any of our beds, you know, and we all cuddle up together then. But she likes the baby bear's bed the most, because, well, she says it's so soft and so warm." "She did in the story." "What story?" asked Mother Bear. "Well, the story of the 3 bears," said Frannie. "Never heard of it." "No, never heard of it at all," said the bears all together. Which really seemed rather extraordinary to Beth and Frannie. They didn't like to ask any more questions after that. "Ah, here's Goldilocks now," said Mother Bear. At the sound of a little high voice could be heard coming nearer and nearer. Baby Bear sprang out of his cot and ran to the door in delight. A pretty little girl with long, curling golden hair picked him up and hugged him. "Hello, dearest," she said. "Have you been a good bear?" Then she saw Beth, Frannie and Moonface, and she stared at them in surprise. "Who are you?" she said. Moonface explained about Joe and how he had gone up to the land of ice and snow where the big white bears lived. "I'm afraid the magic snowman will make him a prisoner there," said Moonface, "and he'll have to live there with the white bears. Could you get your 3 bears to come with us and ask the white bears to let Joe go free, Goldilocks?" "But I don't know the way," said Goldilocks. "Oh, we do," said the Father Bear suddenly. "The white bears are cousins of ours. Moonface, if you can help us with a little bit of magic, we can visit the land of ice and snow in a few minutes." "Goodness gracious," said Beth, most astonished. "But it's ever so far away, right at the top of the faraway tree." "Oh, that doesn't matter," said Father Bear. He took down a large jar from the mantelpiece and filled it with water. He put into it a yellow powder and stirred it with a big black crow's feather. Moonface put his hands into the water and began to sing a string of strange words that Beth and Frannie, they found it quite strange. It made them really feel quite trembly. The water bubbled. It rose up to the top of the jar. It overflowed and ran onto the floor. Then it turned into ice beneath their feet. A cold wind filled the house and everyone shivered. Then Beth looked out of the window, and what she saw there filled her with such amazement that she could not say a word, but just pointed. Frannie looked too. Whatever do you think they saw? Outside lay nothing but ice and snow. They were in the same land as Joe, though how this land happened, neither Beth nor Frannie could make out. "Ah, we're here," said Moonface, taking his hands out of the jar and drying them on his red handkerchief. "Can you lend us any coats, bears? We shall be cold here." Mother Bear handed them some thick coats out of the cupboard. They put them on. The bears already had thick fur and did not need anything extra. "Now, you go first, and I'll follow. It's time to go and find Joe," said Moonface. "Come on, we've all got to help." And that is the end of chapter 9. So, what do you think will happen when the 3 bears, Moonface, Beth and Frannie, head out into the land of ice and snow? Do you think they'll manage to find Joe? And what do you think will happen if they do? What do you think the big snowman will say about their arrival? And how do you think those polar bears are going to end up helping out? Well, we're going to find out everything in the next chapter tomorrow.